The detention cell was small but comfortable. That somehow made it worse. Dae-hyun sat on the narrow bed and stared at the metal walls. He had been here for 3 days now, aboard the Coalition flagship Harmonious Justice. 3 days of silence. 3 days of waiting. The door opened without warning. A guard motioned for him to stand. Dae-hyun was taken down a long corridor to an interrogation room. The walls were transparent on one side, showing the vast command deck of the flagship beyond. Hundreds of crew members worked at their stations, all of them carefully not looking his direction. High Arbiter Velkoth waited inside. He was Vel-like Velrus but ancient. His crystalline body was a deep purple instead of blue, shot through with cracks that glowed with internal light. When he spoke, his voice resonated like struck crystal. "Corporal Dae-hyun, you understand the gravity of your situation?" It was not a question, but Dae-hyun answered anyway. "Yes, sir. Your ship entered the Tomb of Titans. This action carries a mandatory death sentence according to Coalition law. The law was written 800 centuries ago and has never been broken." Velkoth folded his forearms. "However, your species has certain protections. You will face trial instead. You should consider yourself fortunate." Dae-hyun wanted to laugh at that. Fortunate, right? Instead, he said, "It was an accident. Our drive failed. That changes nothing. The law exists for a reason. There are things in the tomb that must never wake." Velkoth leaned forward. "Do you understand this, human? Your people are young. You do not remember the wars. You do not remember what the precursors could do. I know the stories." "Stories." Velkoth made a sound like breaking glass. The precursors could reshape reality. They could fold space with a thought. They built weapons that made suns explode. And then they vanished, leaving their toys behind. We do not know why they left. We do not know if they are truly gone. So we made a simple rule. Never enter the tomb. Never wake what sleeps there. The guard took Dae-hyun back to his cell. He lay on his bed and pulled out his personal device, hidden in his boot where the guards had not thought to look. The pulse data was still there. He had been studying it every spare moment. It was definitely a pattern, a mathematical sequence that repeated every 47 seconds. He recognized parts of it, Fibonacci numbers, harmonic intervals, the kind of math that appeared in nature, in music, in the structure of galaxies. This was not random noise. This was a message. The door opened again that evening. Dae-hyun looked up, expecting another interrogation. Instead, he saw a woman in a research division uniform. She was human, in her 40s, with sharp eyes and gray streaking her black hair. "Corporal," she said, glancing at the guard outside. "I am Dr. Hana. I work in the Historical Research Division. May I speak with you?" Dae-hyun sat up. "Sure." Hana waited until the guard closed the door. Then she sat across from him and lowered her voice. "I heard rumors about what you found." A signal from inside the tomb. Dae-hyun's heart beat faster. "Who told you that?" "No one, I guessed. You were inside the tomb for almost 3 hours before the Coalition arrived. You are an engineer. Engineers collect data." She paused. "Did you find something?" He should have lied. He should have stayed quiet. But something in Hana's eyes made him trust her. He pulled out his device and showed her the data. Hana went very still as she studied the screen. Her hands were shaking. "By all the stars," she whispered. "This is real. What is it?" "A query. A question." Hana looked up at him. "Do you know what this means?" "The Coalition has been lying for 80,000 years. The tomb is not dead. Something in there is still active. Still waiting." "Waiting for what?" Hana stood and paced the small cell. "I have studied precursor fragments for 15 years. Bits of text, broken artifacts, all of it heavily classified. The Coalition does not want people asking questions about the precursors. But I found things. References to something they called the Inheritor Protocol, which is what? I do not know. The texts are incomplete, but there are hints. The precursors did not die. They chose to leave. Or maybe they chose to sleep. And before they did, they left something behind. A test, maybe, for whoever came after." Dae-hyun felt cold. "You think that cylinder I scanned is part of this test?" "I think that cylinder is asking a question, and I think it will keep asking until someone answers." Hana sat back down. "There is something else you should know. Something the Coalition hid. 30 years ago, a science team entered the tomb, secretly, without permission. They thought they could learn precursor secrets. What happened to them? Most died. Their ship was found drifting, crew dead at their stations. But one survived. A Kresh scientist named Voron. They brought him back. He was insane. Kept talking about sleepers and watchers and architects. He said the precursors were dreaming. He said we had to be careful not to wake them while they dreamed of war. That is insane. Yes, that is what the Coalition said too. They declared him mentally broken and sealed his testimony. But before he died, Voron sent one final message. It was in an ancient language, one of the oldest in the galaxy. Took linguists years to translate it. What did it say? Hana's voice dropped to barely a whisper. Do not wake the architects when they dream of war. Wait for them to dream of gardens. The alarm interrupted them, a loud piercing sound that made both of them jump. Red lights flashed in the corridor outside. Daehyun could hear shouting on the other side of the door. A guard burst in. All personnel to stations. The tomb is active. Repeat, the tomb is active. Hana and Daehyun ran to the observation window in the corridor. Through the transparent wall, they could see the tomb displayed on the main view screen. The massive cylinder that Daehyun had scanned was moving, slowly rotating on its axis for the first time in millennia. The command deck was chaos. Officers shouted reports. Velkoth stood at the center, his crystalline body glowing bright with stress. All ships, battle formation, he commanded. Activate ancient defense protocols. Contact High Command. Tell them we have a potential precursor awakening. More reports came flooding in. Across Coalition space, monitoring stations were detecting activity, not just the cylinder. Other structures in the tomb were powering up. Lights were turning on in stations that had been dark for 80,000 years. Hana grabbed Daehyun's arm. It is responding. The cylinder is responding to your presence, to the fact that someone came close. What do? We have to go back. We have to answer its question before the Coalition destroys everything. Hana looked at him with desperate eyes. Velkoth is going to use the planet killer. It is standard protocol for a precursor threat. He will destroy the entire tomb and everything in it. When? Soon. Very soon. Hana pulled him down the corridor away from the guards who were too busy to notice them. We need to find Taeyang. We need a ship. And we need to be very, very brave or very, very stupid. I vote for stupid, Daehyun muttered. It has gotten me this far. They found Taeyang in the detention wing arguing with a guard. When he saw them, his face lit up. Daehyun! They are saying the tomb woke up. They are saying it is because of us. They are right, Daehyun said. And we need to steal a ship. Right now, Taeyang grinned. Best thing I have heard all week. The guard tried to stop them. Hana knocked him unconscious with a stun baton she pulled from his belt. They ran through the corridors of the massive flagship, staying in maintenance passages that Hana knew from her research trips. Behind them, alarms continued to blare. They reached a shuttle bay on the lower deck. Small ships sat in rows waiting for deployment. Taeyang ran to the nearest one and began the startup sequence. This is not going to work, Daehyun said, watching the door. They will shoot us down the moment we launch. Probably, Taeyang agreed. But you have a better idea? Daehyun did not. The shuttle's engines roared to life. Hana sealed the hatch. Taeyang's hands danced across the controls. Hold on, he said. This is going to be rough. The shuttle launched straight through the bay doors before they could fully open. Alarms screamed. Weapons locked onto them from a dozen Coalition ships. But then something strange happened. The cylinder in the tomb pulsed brighter. Every scanner in the Coalition fleet suddenly went haywire. Targeting systems failed. Communications cut out. In the chaos, one small shuttle slipped away toward the tomb. Daehyun looked at his scanner. The pulse was faster now. Almost urgent. The cylinder was calling them home. Daehyun pressed his forehead against the cold window of the observation deck and stared into the darkness. Stars stretched forever in every direction, but ahead of them lay something different, the obsidian expanse. Even the stars seemed dimmer there, as if light itself was afraid to enter. He had been a salvage engineer for the Coalition for 3 years now. 3 years of fixing broken engines, patching hull breaches, and keeping alien technology running with human ingenuity and spare parts. His crewmates joked that humans could fix anything with enough tape and stubbornness. Daehyun never found it funny. He just did his job. The Coalition survey ship Eternal Witness hummed beneath his feet. It was a small vessel by galactic standards, barely 200 meters long. The crew consisted of 12 members from 6 different species. Daehyun was one of only 2 humans aboard. The other was sleeping in her quarters, and he envied her for it. "You should not stand so close to the window," a voice said behind him. It was Velrus, the ship's navigator. She was Vel, a crystalline species that looked like walking sculptures made of blue glass. The expanse makes people uncomfortable. "I'm fine," Daehyun said, though his hands were shaking slightly. He shoved them in his pockets. No one is fine when they look at the Tomb of Titans. Velrus moved beside him, her body chiming softly with each step. "My people have a saying. Where the precursors died, wisdom dies too. That place is forbidden for good reason." Daehyun had heard the stories. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the tomb. 80,000 years ago, the Galactic Coalition had declared the Obsidian Expanse completely off limits. No ships could enter. No probes could be sent. The penalty for breaking this law was immediate execution. The reason was simple. The tomb contained the remains of the precursors, the first civilization in the galaxy. They had built technology that made modern science look like children playing with rocks. Ships the size of moons, stations that could crack planets, weapons that could ignite stars. All of it was dead now, floating in the darkness like the bones of ancient gods. At least that was what everyone believed. "We are just passing by," Velrus said, as if reading his thoughts. "We will keep our distance, complete our survey of the nearby systems, and leave. Nothing will happen." Daehyun nodded, but he could not shake the feeling in his gut. Something was wrong. He had learned to trust that feeling during his years in space. It had saved his life more than once. The alarm proved him right 6 hours later. Daehyun was in the engine room, running diagnostics on the primary drive when the lights flickered. Then they died completely. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in red. "All crew to stations." The captain's voice crackled over the intercom. "We have a drive failure. Engineering team, I need solutions now." Daehyun was already moving. He grabbed his toolkit and ran toward the main drive chamber. Taeyang met him in the corridor, pulling on his uniform jacket as he ran. Taeyang was the other human on board. A pilot with quick reflexes and a quicker mouth. "Tell me this is not happening," Taeyang said. "It is happening. We are too close to the tomb, way too close." Daehyun knew. The Obsidian Expanse had strange gravity. Ancient precursor technology still warped space even after thousands of years. If their drive failed here, those gravitational currents would pull them in like water down a drain. The drive chamber was chaos. Smoke filled the air. Sparks showered from broken panels. The chief engineer, a 4-armed Kresh named Torvin, was shouting orders in 3 languages at once. "Daehyun, thank the void." Torvin pointed at a massive conduit that was spitting electricity. "The primary capacitor network just exploded. I need you to reroute power through the secondary systems or we lose propulsion completely." Daehyun dropped to his knees and opened an access panel. His hands moved automatically, disconnecting burned cables and splicing new ones. Sweat ran down his face. The ship shuddered around them. "How long?" Taeyang asked. 10 minutes, maybe less." Daehyun did not look up from his work. "We do not have 10 minutes. That was Velrus, her voice tight with fear. "The gravitational pull has increased. We are already inside the boundary zone." The words hit like a physical blow. Inside the boundary. That meant they were inside the Tomb of Titans. That meant they were already dead according to Coalition law. Daehyun's hands never stopped moving. Fear was useless. Panic killed people. He focused on the work. Connect this wire here. Bypass that circuit there. Ignore the smell of burning plastic. Ignore the way the ship groaned like a dying animal. Got it. He slammed the panel shut and hit the activation switch. The drive whined, coughed, then caught. The ship stabilized. Everyone in the room released a breath they had been holding. But the relief lasted only seconds. "Captain," Velrus said over the intercom, her voice hollow, "we have another problem." On the main view screen, the Tomb of Titans spread before them like a mechanical graveyard. Ships, stations, structures so massive they defied comprehension. All dead, all silent, all drifting in the void. And directly ahead, close enough to touch, was the largest structure Daehyun had ever seen. A cylinder 50 kilometers long, dark as midnight, covered in patterns that hurt to look at. "We cannot go around it," the captain said. He was Theron, a calm Vor who never raised his voice even in crisis. "We do not have enough power. We need to land on that station over there." He pointed at a smaller structure nearby. "We send a team to salvage parts, boost our signal, and call for help." They will destroy us, Velrus whispered. Coalition law is clear. Any ship that enters the tomb must be destroyed. They will not care that it was an accident. Then we better work fast. Theron looked at Dae-hyun. You are going. Take Taeyang and Velrus. Find what we need. Get back here within 2 hours, Dae-hyun wanted to argue. He wanted to say this was insane. But he just nodded and grabbed his suit. The derelict station was old beyond measure. The metal was pitted and scarred from eons of micrometeorite impacts. When Dae-hyun stepped onto its surface, his boots crunched on dust that might have been there since before humans learned to make fire. This place is dead, Taeyang muttered over the radio. Completely dead. Dae-hyun scanned the area with his handheld device, looking for power systems they could salvage. The readings were normal, empty corridors, dormant reactors. Nothing unusual. Then his scanner picked up something else. A pulse, faint but steady. Electromagnetic radiation in a regular pattern. He turned toward the massive cylinder they had passed earlier. The signal was coming from there, guys, he said slowly. I am reading something strange. Instrument malfunction, Velrus said immediately. Everything here is dead. Has been for 80,000 years. But Dae-hyun checked his scanner again. The pulse was still there. Regular. Rhythmic. Like a heartbeat. He walked to the edge of the station and looked at the cylinder. It hung in space like a sleeping giant, its surface covered in those impossible patterns. And now that he was looking closely, he could see something else. A very faint glow from deep inside the structure. So faint he might have imagined it. We need to go, Velrus said, her voice urgent. I am detecting coalition ships on long-range sensors. They are coming. Dae-hyun stared at the cylinder for another moment. Then he did something that surprised even himself. He downloaded the pulse data to his personal drive, breaking protocol. He told himself it was just curiosity, just a mystery to solve later. But deep down he knew, something in the tomb was alive, and it had noticed them. They returned to the Eternal Witness with salvaged parts and began broadcasting a distress signal. Within an hour, coalition destroyers appeared on the sensors, massive warships bristling with weapons. The captain ordered everyone to stand down. They would surrender peacefully and hope for mercy. Dae-hyun sat in his quarters, staring at his scanner. The pulse was getting faster now. The cylinder was 50 kilometers away, but somehow he could feel it, waiting, watching. The coalition would put them on trial. They would probably survive because humans had diplomatic protection. But that pulse, that heartbeat, the tomb was not dead, and for some reason it wanted them to know. The shuttle shook violently as they entered the tomb. Taeyang fought with the controls, trying to keep them on course, but physics itself seemed broken here. Gravity pulled in wrong directions. Time stuttered. Their chronometers displayed impossible numbers, counting backward and forward at random. This place is not natural, Taeyang shouted over the noise. Nothing works right. Dae-hyun watched the scanner. The pulse from the cylinder was stronger now, cutting through the chaos like a beacon. Follow the signal. It wants us to find it. It is a machine that has been dead for 80,000 years. It does not want anything. Then explain why it turned on the moment we got close, Hana said from the back seat. She was clutching her safety harness with white knuckles. Follow the signal, Taeyang. Trust it. They dove deeper into the graveyard of ancient wonders. Ships the size of mountains drifted past them, their hulls covered in symbols that hurt to read. Stations hung in space like frozen spiders, their docking arms reaching out toward nothing. And everywhere there was movement now. Lights flickering on, systems awakening after unimaginable sleep. The cylinder appeared before them, massive beyond comprehension. 50 kilometers of dark metal that seemed to drink in light. But now Dae-hyun could see details he had missed before. The patterns on its surface were not random. They were doors. Thousands upon thousands of doors. One of them was opening. There, Dae-hyun pointed. That is where we need to go. Taeyang guided the shuttle toward the opening. It was easily large enough to swallow their tiny ship. As they passed through, lights activated around them, forming a tunnel that led deep into the cylinder's heart. I am getting some very bad feelings about this, Taeyang muttered. Same, Dae-hyun agreed. Keep going anyway. The tunnel opened into a chamber so vast they could not see the far walls. The shuttle's lights barely touched the darkness. Taeyang set them down on a platform that appeared beneath their ship, solid and real despite having been empty space seconds before. They sat in silence for a moment, listening to the tick of cooling engines. "Well," Hana said finally, "we came this far. Might as well go outside." The air was breathable. Their scanners confirmed it, though none of them could explain how a derelict structure maintained atmosphere after so long. They stepped out of the shuttle in their environment suits anyway, unwilling to trust anything in this place. The chamber was alive with light now. The walls glowed with flowing equations, real mathematics made visible, streaming past like water. Daehyun recognized some of it. Quantum mechanics, gravitational theory, but most was beyond him, beyond anything humans had discovered. At the center of the chamber floated a sphere of pure light. It pulsed in time with the beacon Daehyun had been tracking. "The heartbeat of the tomb, what is it?" Taeyang whispered. "I think it is the question," Hana said. "The one Vorin talked about. The one the precursors left behind." As if responding to her words, the sphere expanded. Light washed over them. Daehyun closed his eyes against the glare, but it made no difference. He could see through his eyelids, see through his skull. The light was inside him. Images flooded his mind. Not words, but pure understanding, faster than thought. He saw the precursors, not as gods or monsters, but as beings like himself, curious, afraid, hopeful. They had reached the peak of technological advancement and faced a terrible choice. They could transcend reality entirely, become pure energy, leave physical form behind. Many species had done this throughout galactic history. It was considered the ultimate achievement. But transcendence meant abandonment. It meant leaving the galaxy empty, vulnerable. Other species would evolve. Other civilizations would rise. And with no guidance, they might destroy themselves before reaching maturity. The precursors had seen it happen. Over and over. Young species finding weapons they did not understand, blowing themselves back to Stone Age or worse. So the precursors made a different choice. They built the Titans, these massive structures, these sleeping giants. They were not weapons. They were teachers. Archives of knowledge. Tools for the next generation. Then the precursors went to sleep. Not death, sleep. Waiting in a place beyond space and time for the galaxy to mature. Waiting to see if anyone would be worthy of their inheritance. The tomb was not a graveyard. It was a school, a test. A gift. The vision ended. Daehyun stumbled, gasping. Taeyang caught him before he fell. Hana stood frozen, tears running down her face. The sphere spoke. Not in words, but in that same instant understanding. The question formed in their minds like it had always been there. "Are you the inheritors?" Daehyun felt the weight of it. This was the test. This was what Vorin had encountered, what had driven him mad. The sphere was asking if they were ready. Ready for knowledge beyond imagining. Ready for technology that could reshape worlds. Ready for the power that had made the precursors gods. "I do not know how to answer," Hana whispered.
"What does it want to hear?"
The sphere showed them more. Images of other civilizations that had found the tomb over the millennia. Some had answered with confidence, claiming they deserved the precursors' power. The Titans had rejected them, gone back to sleep for another 1,000 years. Others had answered with fear, attacking the tomb, trying to take by force what should be given freely. The Titans had defended themselves, pushing the attackers away, locking them out forever. The Coalition's response had been worse in its own way. Not attack, but quarantine, fear masquerading as caution. They had declared the tomb forbidden and tried to forget it existed. This was also a failure. The Titans needed engagement, not isolation. Questions, not silence. "Are you the inheritors?" The question came again, more urgent. Daehyun could feel time running out. Somewhere outside this chamber, the Coalition fleet was preparing its weapon, the planet killer that would destroy everything within a light year. They had minutes, maybe less. "What do we say?" Taeyang asked. "We are just 3 people. We cannot speak for all humanity. We cannot speak for the Coalition." "Then do not," Hana said. "Speak for yourself. Answer honestly." Daehyun stepped forward. His legs were shaking, but he forced himself to move closer to the sphere. It pulsed brighter, acknowledging him. He thought about what to say, thought about all the things he could claim, that humanity was special, that they were ready, that they deserved this power, but all of it felt wrong. Like a lie the sphere would see through instantly, so instead Daehyun told the truth. "No," he said, "we are not ready. Humans have only been in space for a few centuries. We still fight each other. We still make stupid mistakes. The Coalition is older, but they are afraid of you. They would rather destroy this place than learn from it. Nobody out there is ready for what you are offering. The sphere dimmed slightly. Waiting. But, Daehyun continued, not being ready does not mean we should not try. Every species has to start somewhere. You were not perfect when you began, right? You learned, you grew. You made mistakes and fixed them. That is what learning is. He took a breath. I am not asking for power. I am asking for a chance to learn, to grow, to maybe someday be worthy of what you are offering. Not today, not tomorrow, but someday. The chamber went completely silent. Even the flowing equations on the wall stopped moving. The sphere hung motionless in the air. Daehyun wondered if he had failed, if he had said the wrong thing. If the Titans would go back to sleep for another 80,000 years. Then the sphere pulsed once, twice, 3 times. A rhythm like laughter. Understanding flooded into him again. Not images this time, but emotion, approval, joy, relief. The Titans had been waiting so long for someone to be honest. To admit weakness instead of claiming strength. To ask for teaching instead of demanding power. This was the answer they wanted. Not arrogance, not fear. Just honest humility and willingness to learn. The sphere began to change. It split into smaller spheres, dozens of them, spreading throughout the chamber. Each one touched a different wall, activating systems that had slept for ages. Lights blazed to life. Screens activated. Data began flowing. What is happening? Taeyang asked. The Titans are waking up, Hana said, her voice full of wonder. Not as weapons. As teachers. They are accepting us, the sphere spoke again. This time they understood more clearly. The Titans would share their knowledge, but slowly, carefully. No civilization could handle everything at once. They would have to earn each piece, prove they understood it before receiving more. And if they ever tried to weaponize what they learned, the Titans would shut down completely. Forever. It was a gift with rules, a treasure with responsibility. Daehyun felt relief flood through him. They had done it. They had passed the test. They had saved the tomb and maybe saved the galaxy from destroying something priceless. Then the alarm on his suit beeped. A proximity warning. The coalition weapon, Taeyang said, checking his scanner. It fired. We have 30 seconds. Daehyun looked at the sphere. Can you protect us? The sphere pulsed a question back at him. Will you trust us? Daehyun thought about it for exactly 1 second. They had come this far. They had been honest. If the Titans wanted to kill them, they could have done it any time. Yes, he said. I trust you. The world turned white. Daehyun woke up on the floor of the chamber. His head hurt. His mouth tasted like metal. For a moment, he could not remember where he was or why. Then it all came flooding back. The tomb, the sphere, the weapon. He sat up quickly, looking around. Taeyang was sitting nearby, staring at his hands like he did not recognize them. Hana was standing by the wall, touching the flowing equations with her fingers, watching them ripple at her touch. We are alive, Daehyun said. It came out as a question. The weapon is gone, Taeyang said numbly. I checked the scanner. The coalition fired a planet killer at us. Enough power to crack a moon. It just vanished. Not destroyed. Moved. The scanner says it is 3,000 light-years away, sitting in empty space, completely undamaged. Daehyun stood on shaking legs. The sphere still floated at the center of the chamber, pulsing steadily. Around it, dozens of smaller lights danced like stars. Understanding came to him without words. The Titans had protected them, not by destroying the weapon, but by moving it. Translating it through space to somewhere it could not hurt anyone. A demonstration of power that was also a demonstration of mercy. What happens now? Hana asked. The sphere answered by showing them. Images formed in the air around them. The tomb was fully awake now. Every structure, every station, every ancient ship was activating systems that had slept for longer than most stars lived. Defensive fields bloomed around threatened structures. The coalition fleet, which had been advancing to finish what their weapon started, found itself gently but firmly pushed back. No matter how much power they used, they could not advance past the boundary. The Titans were setting limits, protecting themselves, protecting their knowledge from those who would take it by force. The coalition is not going to be happy about this, Taeyang said. No, Hana agreed. But they cannot do anything about it. Look, she pointed at one of the displays. It showed energy readings from the Titans. The numbers were so high they made no sense. A single Titan structure contained more power than the entire Coalition fleet combined, and there were hundreds of Titans. "We need to get back out there," Dae-hyun said. "We need to explain what happened before things get worse." The sphere pulsed agreement. It showed them something else. Dae-hyun's brain, his neural patterns. The sphere wanted to give him something, a gift, a way to communicate with the Titans directly, to serve as a bridge between ancient knowledge and young civilizations. But there was a cost. The interface would change him, alter his brain structure, make him something between human and precursor. The process would be permanent. "Wait," Dae-hyun said. "What exactly does that mean?" The sphere showed him. He would be able to understand languages he never studied, process mathematics as naturally as breathing, see patterns in data that others missed. He would become a translator, a liaison, a bridge, but he would also lose some of his humanity. The way he thought would change. The way he perceived the world would change. He would still be himself, but different, forever different. "That sounds terrifying," Tae-young said. "It is," Dae-hyun agreed. But he was already nodding. "I will do it." "Are you insane?" Tae-young grabbed his arm. "You heard what it said. This will change you." "Everything changes us," Dae-hyun said quietly. "Every choice we make, every experience we have. This is just faster." He looked at his friend. "Someone has to do this. Someone has to be able to speak for the Titans, to explain what they are, what they want. If I do not do it, the Coalition will keep attacking. People will die." Hana put her hand on his shoulder. "You do not have to be a hero. I am not trying to be a hero. I am trying to fix a problem. That is what I do." He smiled weakly. "I am an engineer, remember?" The sphere waited patiently for his final answer. Dae-hyun took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Do it," he said. "Make me your bridge." The pain was instant and absolute. It felt like lightning in his skull. Dae-hyun screamed and fell to his knees. Tae-young tried to reach him, but the sphere created a barrier, keeping them back. This was something Dae-hyun had to endure alone. Fire and ice and electricity all at once. His brain was being rewritten. Neural pathways formed and reformed. Information poured into him faster than thought. Mathematics, physics, biology, languages, history. The collective knowledge of the precursors compressed into patterns his human mind could barely hold. He screamed until his voice gave out. Then he screamed silently, his body convulsing on the chamber floor. And then it was over. Dae-hyun opened his eyes. The world looked different. He could see energy fields he had never noticed before. The air itself seemed to shimmer with quantum possibilities. When he looked at the equations flowing on the walls, he understood them. All of them. "Dae-hyun?" Tae-young's voice sounded strange, rich with harmonics Dae-hyun had never heard before. He stood slowly. His body felt wrong, like a suit that did not quite fit anymore. He raised his hands and stared at them. They looked normal, but he could see the cells, the molecules, the atoms dancing in their orbits. "I am here," he said. His voice came out wrong, layered, like multiple voices speaking at once. He coughed and tried again. "Still me, just different." Hana was crying. "Your eyes, they are glowing." Dae-hyun touched his face. He could feel it now. The light coming from behind his eyes, the connection to the Titans running through his nervous system like a second circulatory system. "We need to go," he said. "The Coalition is preparing another attack, bigger this time. They are scared, and scared people do stupid things." They returned to the shuttle. Tae-young piloted them out of the tomb while Dae-hyun sat in the back trying to adjust to his new senses. Everything was too much, too loud, too bright, too full of information. He could hear radio transmissions from Coalition ships, decode them automatically. He could feel the mass of nearby structures warping space-time. It was overwhelming. But slowly, he learned to filter it, to push the noise down and focus on what mattered. They emerged from the tomb in a small Titan vessel that had attached itself to their shuttle. It looked like nothing special, just a black sphere barely 10 meters across, but Daehyun knew what it was. A gift from the Titans, a demonstration. The Coalition fleet detected them immediately. Hundreds of weapons locked on. Daehyun reached out with his new abilities and felt the targeting systems. He could have disabled them all with a thought. The Titan vessel could have erased the fleet without effort. But that was not the point. The precursors had not left weapons behind. They left teachers. "Open a channel," Daehyun said. "All frequencies. I want everyone to hear this." Taeyang worked the controls. "You are broadcasting to the entire fleet. Go ahead." Daehyun spoke. His voice carried the harmonics of the Titans now, impossible for any jamming to block. Every ship in the fleet heard him. Every station in Coalition space. Every world with a receiver. "This is Corporal Daehyun speaking for the Titans. We mean no harm. We never did. The Tomb of Titans is not a threat. It is a library. A school. The precursors left knowledge behind for anyone willing to learn." Static and shouting on multiple channels. Velkoth's voice cut through. "You have been corrupted by precursor technology. You are a threat to the Coalition." "I am trying to save the Coalition," Daehyun said patiently. "You have spent 80,000 years afraid of something that wanted to help you. The Titans have knowledge that could end disease, end hunger, end scarcity. They offer it freely to anyone who agrees to use it peacefully. And if we refuse?" Velkoth demanded. "Then you refuse. No one will force you. The Titans do not believe in force. They believe in choice." Daehyun looked at the fleet through the view screen. "But I am asking you to choose wisely. I am asking you to choose learning over fear." "Impossible. We cannot trust precursor technology." "Then trust me. I am human. I am Coalition. I am one of you." His voice softened. "I am scared too, Velkoth. This is terrifying. But being scared should not mean hiding. It should mean learning enough so we do not have to be scared anymore." Silence on the channels. Daehyun waited. Finally, a new voice spoke. Not Velkoth, but someone else. A human voice. Ambassador Jiwon, humanity's representative to the Coalition. "Corporal, this is Ambassador Jiwon. Can you prove what you are saying? Can you show us this knowledge?" "Yes," Daehyun said. "The Titans have prepared demonstrations. Medical technology, energy systems, manufacturing methods, all of it available right now. All of it free. And the cost? You have to promise not to weaponize it. That is all. Use it to build, not destroy. Use it to help, not harm. Break that promise and the Titans shut down forever." More silence. Then Jiwon spoke again. "Some of us are willing to try, not all. The Coalition is splitting over this, but humanity will listen. We will learn." Relief flooded through Daehyun. It was not perfect. It was not unanimous. But it was a start. The Titan vessel moved forward, broadcasting data to any ship willing to receive it. Cure for diseases that had plagued the galaxy for millennia. Energy systems that could power cities. Techniques for growing food in barren soil. Some ships opened their channels and received the gifts. Others fled. Still others opened fire in panic and fear. The Titan vessel absorbed the attacks without damage. It did not fire back. It just waited patiently for the shooting to stop. And eventually it did. Daehyun slumped in his seat. His head hurt. His body hurt. Being a bridge was exhausting, but he had done it. He had stopped a war. He had opened a door that had been closed for 80,000 years. The tomb was breathing. The Titans were teaching, and the galaxy, for better or worse, would never be the same. 10 months passed. To Daehyun, it felt like 10 years. The galaxy had split exactly as Ambassador Jiwon predicted. 7 species, including humanity, formed the new Inheritors Accord. They accepted the Titans' gifts and followed the rules. No weapons, no force, only building and learning and growing. The other 5 species formed the Sovereignty Alliance. They argued that accepting Titan technology meant giving up their independence, that relying on precursor knowledge would make them weak, that every species should develop on its own without ancient help. Both sides believed they were right. Both sides believed the other was leading the galaxy to ruin. Daehyun stood between them literally. He spent his days traveling between Coalition space and the tomb, carrying knowledge in one direction and questions in the other. The Titan interface in his brain grew stronger each day. He could process data faster than any computer, speak any language fluently, understand complex physics with a glance. But the interface was killing him. The medical scans were clear. Human neurology was not designed for precursor systems. The interface was degrading his brain tissue. Slowly but inevitably, doctors gave him a year at most. Maybe less. Dae-hyun kept working. There was too much to do. Too much knowledge to share. Too many people depending on him. He was in his quarters on the Titan vessel, reviewing the latest research proposals, when Hana found him. She looked older than 10 months should have made her. Tired, worn. "You need to stop," she said without preamble. "I am fine." "You are dying. The scans show neural degradation in 6 major regions. You collapsed twice last week. You are not fine." Dae-hyun set down his datapad. "What do you want me to do, Hana?" "The Titans need a voice. The Accord needs someone to speak for the knowledge. If I stop now, everything falls apart. Then we find someone else. Train a replacement." She sat across from him. "The Titans offered you a choice, remember? They can transfer your consciousness into a Titan platform, make you effectively immortal. You could keep working forever. As a machine. As yourself, just in a different form." Dae-hyun had thought about it. The Titans made the offer every day through the interface. He could leave his dying body behind. Become pure consciousness in a precursor shell. Never age. Never tire. Never die, but he would not be human anymore. Not really. He would be something else. Something new. "I need time to think," he said. He did not get time. 3 days later, the Sovereignty Alliance made their move. Warmaster Krell of the Vor species led the attack. He was old even for his long-lived race, a veteran of the last Great War. He believed in strength, in independence, in the right of each species to stand or fall on their own merits. He also believed the Titans were a threat, that any technology so powerful would eventually be weaponized no matter what promises were made. Better to destroy it now before it destroyed them. Krell's fleet gathered in secret, ships from all 5 Sovereignty Alliance species, weapons pulled from old armories, forbidden technology from previous wars. They planned to hit the Titans hard and fast, overwhelming the defenses before anyone could respond. But they made one mistake. They attacked Dae-hyun first. The ambush happened near Haven 7, a neutral trading station. Dae-hyun was transporting medical supplies, basic Titan gifts to help with a plague outbreak. His vessel was small, lightly armed, not built for combat. Krell's fleet appeared without warning. Hundreds of ships. Enough firepower to crack a planet. "Corporal Dae-hyun," Krell's voice came over the radio. "You have become a symbol of everything wrong with this galaxy. You sold our independence for ancient toys. You made us dependent on dead gods. I am sorry, but symbols must sometimes die to make a point." Taeyang was piloting again. He cursed and threw the ship into evasive maneuvers. "We cannot outrun them. There are too many." Dae-hyun felt the Titan interface activate. It showed him possibilities. Ways to fight back. The Titan vessel could destroy Krell's entire fleet in seconds. The weapons were there, dormant but ready. All Dae-hyun had to do was activate them. One thought. One command. And Krell would be dust, but that would prove Krell right. It would show the galaxy that Titan technology could be weaponized. That power corrupted. That fear was justified. "No," Dae-hyun said aloud. "No what?" Taeyang shouted. "We are about to die." "No weapons." Dae-hyun's hands moved across the controls. The interface showed him another option. Riskier, harder, but right. He broadcast their entire tactical situation to everyone in range. Every ship in Krell's fleet. Every station within a light year. Every civilian on Haven 7. He made the battle completely transparent. Then he opened a channel to Krell and everyone else. "You want to kill me to make a point? Fine, do it. But everyone in the galaxy is watching now. They will see you choose to destroy someone bringing medicine to sick people. They will see you fire on an unarmed vessel. They will see you prove that fear makes people into monsters." He paused. "Or you can stand down and prove you are better than your fear. Choose." Silence. Dae-hyun counted his heartbeats, 50, 60, 70. "Fire," Krell ordered. Some ships obeyed. Weapons activated. Targeting locks engaged, but others hesitated. Captains questioned orders. Crews refused to fire on an unarmed medical ship while billions watched. The Sovereignty Alliance fleet fractured. Some ships advanced. Others pulled back. Still others turned to leave entirely. Krell's voice was desperate now. "This is a direct order. Fire on that ship. No, said a Vor captain. I will not be remembered as the person who killed someone carrying medicine. Recall this attack or I will report you to the council. I second that, another captain said. Then another. The attack collapsed. Not through violence, but through simple refusal. Krell's fleet broke apart. Ships returning to their home systems. Captains demanding Krell answer for his actions. Krell himself fled rather than face court-martial, but the damage to the Sovereignty Alliance was done. Their unity shattered, their moral authority broken. 3 of the 5 Alliance species withdrew completely. They declared neutrality, unwilling to be associated with an attempted assassination. The Sovereignty Alliance effectively ended that day. Dae-hyun slumped in his seat. His head pounded. Blood ran from his nose. The neural interface had degraded further from the stress. You did it, Hana said, tears in her eyes. You stopped a war without firing a shot. I just made everything visible, Dae-hyun said weakly. People made their own choice once they could see clearly. Taeyang landed them on Haven 7. Medical teams took Dae-hyun away immediately. The neural degradation had accelerated. Doctors gave him days now, not months. In his hospital bed, Dae-hyun finally made his decision. The Titans appeared in his mind, asking their question one last time. Would he accept the transfer? Would he become a Titan platform and continue the work? No, he said aloud. I choose to stay human, the doctors protested. Hana begged. Even Taeyang, who hated showing emotion, pleaded with him. But Dae-hyun was firm. The point of the Titans is not power. It is not immortality. It is teaching the next generation. If I become a machine, I fail that lesson. I need to show people that being human matters. That staying true to yourself matters more than living forever. Then what? Hana demanded. You just die? All your knowledge dies with you? No, you teach others. Train new liaisons. Spread the work across dozens of people instead of putting it all on one. He smiled weakly. You are the expert on precursor technology now anyway. You understand it better than I do. But no buts. This is my choice. Respect it. They did. They had to. Dae-hyun spent his remaining days training others. Humans and aliens both. He showed them how to communicate with the Titans. How to ask questions. How to offer knowledge in return. The interface could be modified, made safer for human brains. It would take time, but it could be done. The Titans opened 7 archive sites across the galaxy. Each required teams of mixed species scholars. No single species could monopolize the knowledge. Everyone had to work together or no one learned anything. It was exactly what the precursors intended. Cooperation, sharing, growing together. Dae-hyun died on Earth in a hospital room overlooking mountains. Hana was there. Taeyang was there. His family was there. Did I do enough? He asked Hana in his final hours. You did everything, she said. You opened the door. You showed the galaxy there was another way. You gave us a chance. Good. He closed his eyes. That is all I wanted. His funeral was attended by representatives of every species in the Inheritors' Accord. They built a memorial at the tomb, a statue of a human figure looking toward the stars, with Dae-hyun's own words inscribed below. We are not ready, but we will be. 50 years later, the first human achieved full neural integration with Titan systems without degradation. Dr. Hana led the team that made it possible. The breakthrough used techniques they learned from studying what went wrong with Dae-hyun. His sacrifice had not been wasted. Humanity became the bridge species, the translators between precursor wisdom and young civilizations. It was not a position they sought, but one they grew into through necessity and pain. The galaxy learned slowly. Some species joined the Accord. Others remained neutral. A few still feared the Titans and kept their distance. That was fine. The Titans were patient. They had waited 80,000 years. They could wait longer. The tomb of Titans breathed in the darkness, teaching anyone willing to learn. Ships came and went. Knowledge flowed outward like water, finding new channels. The precursors remained asleep in their place beyond space, dreaming now of gardens instead of war. And somewhere in the archives, in data preserved for eternity, Dae-hyun's story was told and retold, not as a tale of heroism but as a lesson, about choice, about sacrifice, about the courage to stay true to yourself even when offered immortality. The galaxy was not perfect. Wars still happened. Mistakes were still made. Species still struggled and failed and rose again.